व्यासशङ्करमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम श्री परमात्मने नमः। So in chapter 13 we have been discussing Kshetram Kshetragya Vibhaga Yoga. In the previous class, we saw some values which Krishna had outlined. So just let's quickly go through what values he said in verse number 8. Then we go to verse number 9. The whole of Bhagavad Gita is full of values. A lot of values is given. The first value was Amanitvam. Right? Amanitvam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, Shantihi, Arjavam, Acharya Upasanam, Shaucham, Stairyam, Atta Vinigraha. So these are all the values which a wise person or a jnani should have. It need not be a jnani also, a person who is a karma yogi also should work towards acquiring these values. So Amanitvam is very important. At the same time, Dambaha. If you know something, you don't proclaim to the world that I know this, or I'm the only person who knows this, there's nobody equal to me. All these are all Dambaha. So the person who doesn't have this egoistic attitude is a better person to lead the life, and you can manage things better. Okay. Then Ahimsa is one of the foremost qualities we saw, that whether hurting somebody by speech or by action or by thought also is Ahimsa. So a person who is practicing these values, one has to start practicing these values to say that I will not intentionally hurt anybody. See, unintentionally you would have done something for which you will have to go through the Papa Karma. You will definitely have this, because the Karma Yogi is not a jnani yet. The Karma Yogi is a person who is a Mumukshuhu, who is working towards Moksha. So Moksha Michuhu, Mokshuhu. Moksha Michami, that is my wish. So the Karma Yogi definitely incurs Punyam and Papam till he acquires Jnana. So one has to remember that as long as you are a Karma Yogi, you are still not transitioned as a Jnani yet. So there will be Punyam and Papam. So how do you reduce your Papam? You reduce your Papam by all following these values. So by practicing Ahimsa to the extent possible. Then Shantihi, remaining peaceful, remaining compassionate, very quiet, or not getting agitated, also is one of the qualities. Arjavam, straight talking person, a person who doesn't confuse things, a person who always talks the truth, the correct thing. Arjavam, one of the qualities required. Then Acharya Upasana. So Acharya means the person who Acharati Acharya. The one who follows Shastra is called Acharya. So the Acharya or the Guru who here referred here is none other than the person who is speaking the truth from the Shastra. The Acharya cannot, or the Guru cannot speak anything else other than what is in the Shastra. He or she cannot just invent something on his own, her own theory, and say, this is my own understanding of what the Shastram says. This is what is. No. He has to exactly quote the Shastram says. There must not be any alteration. There must not be any changes. The Drishtantaha can change. The examples can change. The unfoldment method can vary to some extent depending upon the knowledge of the person. But the traditional style of teaching will still continue. And Upasanaha means the person who contemplates or the person who serves the Guru, who is called the Achar Upasanam. When you say any type of service you go do to the Guru, it can be anything, taking care of the person, servicing him. If he has got any other help you require, writing notes or compiling books or any other requirement. Most foremost thing for Achar Upasana is to study Shastra. The Guru does not expect anything else from anybody. What the Guru expects from you is that you have to be committed to the line of Shastra, committed to the study of Shastra. Then you should be able to realize the truth by yourself with the study aids available. So to Achar Upasana. Then Shaucham we saw. So Shaucham is Bahi Shaucham and Antra Shaucham. So having clean life is also mentioned as Shaucham. So how do you have a clean life? Clean life is possible only if you follow Dharma. If you are a dharmic person, if you follow Dharma, then your life will be clean. If you do not follow Dharma, any adharmic activities, anything, it will not give you a clean life. It will always be, it's very sketchy. It will have problems. It will be always be riddled with so many issues, which one has to go through and endure all these things. So Shaucham refers to Antra Shaucham. It means inside also you should be clean. How do you have a clean mind? The clean mind is possible only when you practice Karma Yoga. Without practicing Karma Yoga, you cannot have the peacefulness. So then Bahya Shaucham. So it is not enough just to have a clean mind, and have a straight mind, but then one also has to be dressed adequately, take care of the body, not just neglect the whole thing. So Shaucham does not say that you should take bath or taking bath is a Shaucham. Shaucham means all those things which are required for a person to execute or to do the activities for Dharma. So any activity which is required for you to follow Dharma, whatever Shastram says in Dharma Shastram, and if it requires you to follow a particular procedure, you should follow. So what is Dharma Shastram is a different topic. Whether we know or no, it's a different topic. So, but whatever is told, what is followed by, in your, parampara, in your tradition, or whatever your father and mother has told you and how they are following, it is important to follow at least those. So that is what called Shaucham. Then Stairyam. Stairyam is steadfastness. One has to be very steady. See, Stairyam is a very unique word because a person can be very steady also in Ajnanam also. I do not want to know anything. Also Stairyam. So steadfastness means the person who doesn't want to study, doesn't want to know anything about it. I just don't want to know anything about all these things. Just leave me alone. I would like to be just living this world. It is also Stairyam. It's very steadfast in enjoying this world. Steadfast in not pursuing anything. But here, the Stairyam talks about the steadiness or the person who's got Dhrida Nishchayaha. Firm commitment to discovering moksha, discovering freedom. So Stairyam means there may be obstacles. There will be so many obstacles when you follow this particular path. It is not an easy path. Because you are trying to do so many things, juggle around your day-to-day work, your commitments, your duties, responsibilities. Then you're also trying to pursue this. If you had no responsibilities, assume that you had no family duties, you had no children, no wife, nothing was there, you are alone. And if you had wanted to take sannyasa, then it could be easy for you to do all these things. That is why Krishna says that karma yogi the path is more difficult than sannyasa yoga. Because karma yogi has to deal with so many things. He has to balance all these activities. So Stairyam is recommended, is very important for people who are following the karma yoga path. Then Atma Vinigraha means, see, Vinigraha, when you say, is the mastery over the mind. That means you cannot control the mind. You cannot, but you can manage the mind. See, mind cannot be under a control all the time. How do you control the mind? It's called managing the mind. You cannot instruct the mind to do only this. The mind will do always so many things. Because the nature of the mind is to wander. Right? So we always say in Tamil also, Manamuru Kurangu. It means what? The mind always will latch on to something, and before latching on, it will leave something. The monkey also the same thing, that whenever it wants to jump from branch to branch, it will always hold one hand on the other branch, then leave the other hand. Then it will hold the other hand, it will leave the other hand. So the mind also latches on to always a particular thing, and then it keeps going along. So this is the nature of the mind, is to wander. You cannot say that the mind should not wander at all, because it is not possible for it to do that. But you can restrict the wandering by narrowing the scope of the wandering. How do you do that? By satsanga. So by being in satsangam, being in association of people who are like-minded like you. So you join a group of people who are studying, say, Vishnu Sahasranama, or as Radhaji was saying, she is part of Narayanian group. So you form group of people, or you go to this kind of satsang where people like you are like-minded, they are interested. So by joining the group, by forming part of this satsang or being part of that group and studying together and attending lectures like this, it's possible to restrict the scope. Otherwise, if you are just, leave everything, it will be just running wild. An idle mind is a devil's workshop, he said. Means if the mind has got nothing to do, it will just wander, keep doing whatever you want. So sometimes you have to be busy to give the mind fodder. You should only give the mind only what you want to give. Anything more than that, if you give, the mind will take control of it. So you have to that is called Atma Vinigraha. Okay. Then in number 8 verse, we'll see. Let's see up to 7, correct? Number 8, you have to see from 8.
8 we finished.
We finished 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll also have a quick look at 8 also. So Indriya Arteshuhu. So another quality. Indriya Arteshuhu means a person who has got, or Artaha means objects, and Indriyam means the sensory objects, or objects that are identified with the senses. So sensory powers, sensory organs, all which identify an object is called Indriya Artaha. So Indriya Arteshuhu Vairagyam. So Vairagyam means what? Dispassion. That means a person should be dispassionate or should not be attached to all these objects. So when you say Vairagyam, how will it develop Vairagyam? Vairagyam is something you'll have to understand the object itself. Over a period of time, you mature. Like when you're a small young person, we used to play with balloon, and then we used to play with or with doll, whatever is there. So all the objects which are there, they were giving you satisfaction at a point of time, depending upon the age and maturity of the person. Correct? Food also, you had certain liking of the food, and now your tastes are changing. You are no longer interested in this kind of playing those games and the type of food what you want to have. So all these things is what you are growing out of it. You are not dropping anything. Right? So I would like to still play with the balloon, you say, at this age also. That is called absurdity. Even if somebody is giving you a balloon, you will not want to play for it. That's correct. You just don't want to do it. Say, why are you giving me this? I do not want it. Because you've grown out of that particular taste, desire. So in the same way, all these objects of desire which is there, one by one, you'll have to master them. One by one, you'll have to go dispassionate. So this all it is. Okay, so I think I can live without this. I do not need this. Or I can restrict the usage of that. So instead of having, daily ice cream, you can shift to once a week ice cream, or once a month you can do, because you still have a liking for that. And it is always a wrong thing to suppress your desire. See, if you suppress your desire, it will actually go into subconscious. At some point of time, the desire will just come back in some form or the other. So you'll have to take the desire by the bull, the horn, and then say, okay, look, I want to take care of this. So either you fulfill the desire and then get over it, finish it off, so that when you finish the desire, when you have finished with that, you are satisfied, this chapter is over. Then you no longer is attracted to the desire. So this is called Vairagyam. Vairagyam is not just dropping things, it is growing out of it due to maturity, due to gaining wisdom. Then the person who has got equanimity or the view towards janmaha, mrityuhu, jara, vyadihi. So, samadarshanaha. So, samadarshanaha means what? A person who is seeing clearly. Anudarshanam, samadarsanam means the person has got a very clear vision. He sees clearly that yes, all these objects which are there, including the physical body, is subject to janmaha. It is coming into existence from something or the other. And the objects, the physical body also undergoes change. So it comes into existence, then it born, then it grows, then it peaks into a certain point of time, then it starts to reduce. One day finally it goes. So janma, mrityu, jara, vyadihi. So jara means old age. And vyadihi means all the diseases, which is afflictions which are there. Disease doesn't mean that physical disease. Disease means afflictions. So mental affliction, physical affliction. It's also a disease. Mental attachment also is a disease. Because physical attachment, mental attachment is also a problem. Vyadi only. Because you cannot be free. Right? If you just stuck to somebody like this, you cannot come out, because when you come out, it will have a separation, a pain of separation, and which you cannot tolerate. So how do we get over this? You get over it only by understanding what Vairagyam is, what desire is, and then going out of the desire slowly. So that's what it says, anudarshanam. And sukha dukkha. So sukha doshaha anudarshanam. So all of the defects which you see, and Sukham also you see clearly, Anudarshana. So this is the qualities described so far by Krishna as a wise person. I'll go into verse 9 and see what else he wants to add to this. Asaktir anabishvangaha. Asaktir anabishvangaha. Putradhara grihadishu. Asaktir anabishvangaha. Putradhara grihadishu. Nityam cha samachittatvam. Nityam cha samachittatvam. Isto nishtopapattishu. Isto nishtopapattishu. Asaktir anabishvangaha. Putradhara grihadishu. Nityam cha samachittatvam. Istanishtopapatishu. This is a very great chapter. Difficult. See, asaktaha means absence of sense of ownership. Asaktaha means the ownership is not there. Absence of sense of ownership. Then anabishvangaha means absence of obsession. So absence of ownership and absence of obsession. For what? From putraha. So absence of ownership of putraha. Absence of obsession from putraha. Then daraha, wife. So putraha, daraha, griha, adishu. So he is saying that a person who is a wise person should be having or cultivating a sense of detachment. See, when you say, I own this person, this is my son, this is my wife. In transactional view, it is all correct. Because when you attain jnanam, when somebody asks you, who is this person? He says, I don't know this person. You can't say this. It will be troublesome for you. See, there are two aspects of dealing with life. One thing is called Paramarthika Satyam. So Paramarthika Satyam means the truth of who you are is seen very clearly in knowledge. So it's called Paramarthika Satyam. In that view, all the other things are treated as mithya. Means as though they're existing, but not existing permanently. How do you say when you say mithya? Mithya is a word in Sanskrit which describes the impermanency of an item. Anything other than the knower is described as mithya, because you can objectify every object here and you can say that these objects are all going to change. So putra also will change. Your son will be there today, your son will not be there with you tomorrow. Correct? Your wife will be there with you today, wife will not be there tomorrow also. Maybe she has to go somewhere else for maybe 2 years to stay somewhere else. Or anything can happen. Your house you are staying also is impermanent, because if you hold on to your house, this is my Purvika house. I can't leave this house at all. So you are tied to the house. You cannot go anywhere. You cannot sell it. You cannot upgrade it. So all these are called obsession. This you are obsessed with having possessive approach. That I am the only person who take care of this person. There is no other person who can take care of this person better than me. I have to do this. And if I don't serve food with my own hand, he will be hungry. All these are actually, so what do? You wait. Wait till 2:30, 1 o'clock, 2:30 for the person to come. He may not turn up. See, today's is not possible. Nobody waits for that long. We are naturally dispassionate because we are tired. Nobody's got energy to wait for 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning for husband to come, and then you serve food, and then you wash utensils, you go to sleep. This is nadakada karenge. This is not practical in Kali Yuga. They will just say, see, are you coming? What time you are coming? 9 o'clock. See, kitchen is closed at 9 o'clock. If you want to come after 9 o'clock, the food is there. Eat yourself. Dishes are clean. Make sure everything is clean. And anything is left over, put in the fridge. All instructions clear given to you. So you are pretty much dispassionate there. Whether you like it or not, dispassion is already given to you. Because lifestyle is like this. But that is not called here. Opposition talks about here is that excessively holding on to the to sun. So, or to any person. So wherever the sun goes, you'll also go. You want to go there. See, in our religion, Putraha is supposed to be a person who is actually propagating a dharma. Putra or Putri. Putri will actually propagate the other person's dharma. See, girl always gets married into other family, correct? So the girl will not be able to propagate dharma for your parampara, but she will actually go into other person's family, and then she will actually be helping to propagate dharma of the husband, right? That's why here Putri is not mentioned, Putraha is mentioned. Putra means here, Putra will stay with you. And holding on to the person that he's my son, I cannot let him go. And if he goes somewhere else, I have to go with him. But in current scenario, we can take Putra, Putri also, because you have a daughter or son, you educate the person, you give everything facility what you want, you make him a nice person, then you get him or her married. After that, your responsibility is over. See, when you do Kanya Dhanam, what does Dhanam means? Dhanam means that you actually given it away. So a person who gives Dhanam cannot take back anything, neither should expect anything from the daughter or from anybody else. Correct? So that is the significance of Kanya Dhanam. That's why in our culture, Kanya Dhanam is supposed to be more important than even Mangali Dharana. Mangali Dharana is a symbolic way of announcing to the world that yes, now she got license now. Now nobody should look at her in negative aspect because now she is a property of somebody else. So you should not be looking at that aspect. So the license is given for the girl in front of everybody else. Whereas the Kanya Dhanam is supposed to be the most essential function. So once you give Dhanam to the person, then you cannot take it back. Neither you can expect anything from the person. But what do? We go and cling on. We go and get attached. We want to make sure that the person is happy after that. Then the girl, the expectation is, oh, I've given her in marriage now. Nothing has come yet so far. When are you, I should become a grandmother or I should become a grandfather. So next expectation comes. Because you are used to living like this. Some pedipurkano, right? A life la. You have this continues for some time. Then the child comes, then you get attached to the child, grandchildren. Then you go and visit the grandchildren, then you want to stay with them for a longer time. 1 month is not enough. Then you spend 6 months there. Then you spend one year there. Then it keeps continuing. So what it says here, it is not saying that you must not stay with a person nor have just chuck away somebody. What it says here, do not get overly attached. Do not get overly having a sense of ownership. Okay. That's why it says here, asaktaha anabhishvangaha putradharaha griha adishuhu. Okay. So, and having nityam cha samachittatvam. So, nityam means always. So, it is not just, having temporarily. It means always you must have. In fact, Adi Shankara also adds in Putra Dhara, servant also he adds. Maid servant. See, in some countries, maid servant is not mudiyad. Just imagine in India now, the lockdown is happening, correct? Before the lockdown, the maid servant used to come and do all the work. You'll have one person coming and washing clothes, one maid servant coming and cleaning the house, and then you had time to do other things. Now, because the maid servant is not there, you are doing every work. So you are dependent on the maid servant. So Inni Kurban, you are waiting. So even he says Putra Dara Adishu, he says also including the servant also he says that these are the things which you clearly possess, and with those your happiness and sorrow is hinging on. So your sorrow and happiness is hinging on these people or these objects of desire. So it is not simply an affection, but it is actually moha. So moha means excessive attachment. You're really hooked on to this. You cannot live without this person. So it doesn't say that love and care is also attachment. Love and care is different. See, you have love for the children, you do things for them, it is okay. And you care for the children, also is okay. But your love and care, duty also is okay. See, if your duty is to raise the children properly, give them education, give them good values, get them married, if they ask you. If they ask you that please get me married, then you can do that. Sometimes they'll come and tell you, I'm getting married, so and so person, everything is all decided already. So what do? You go and do Ashirvadam. If they invite you also. If you don't get invited also, you should be expected to remain neutral. That is what, in today's environment, that is what it is. In today's culture, today's Kali Yuga, you can expect anything. So one must be very, very objective. One must not have expectations that it will be like this. See, it is right to expect that a person will not do this. Example, if you want to go skiing, you look at the weather and say, I can go skiing today. But you go to skiing there, the weather turns completely upside down. So what do? Do you curse the weather? You do not curse the weather because the weather is doing its own job because it is unpredictable. But you are hinging your particular happiness on going skiing and enjoying based on something which is not in your control. Is that right? The weather is not in your control at all. And what do? You blame the weather. You blame everything. So here what it means, a person who has got samachittatvam or nityam samachittatvam means constant equanimity. Samaha means equal. Chittatvam means having an equal or mind which is equal. That means you accept whichever comes as prasada. See, your job is to give them good education. I'm just giving an example. Okay? So it can be anything. Our duty is to do what is best for according to dharma. If you have got an office, you should do justice to your job. Right? So every profession has got. If you've got a doctor, you've got a doctor's profession is there. There are some doctors' rules up there. You cannot violate a doctor's rule just because you are a doctor. Police, if you've got a police, you've got to follow they've got guidelines. If you've got a government, you've got to follow government guidelines. So all the dharmas are there. Rashtra dharma, Pitru dharma, Putra dharma, Stri dharma, right? Samanya dharma, Vishesha dharma. All these dharmas are there. So you do all these things in conformity with dharma and then hope for the best. The results are definitely not in your hand. The results you can expect that, yes, by doing all these things, I'm hoping for something to be good. But if it doesn't come out that good also, I'm okay for that because I really cannot change that anything. So this is called smartness. This is called accepting things as they are and not getting affected by things which are out of your control. So you can only control what you have in control. Right? Anything which is not in your control, what can you do about it? You can only pray that it will actually not happen. But if it happens, what do? It's accept. So it actually, this attitude helps us to be a little bit calmer, not get agitated or get obsessive. How is it possible? No, it's not possible. He has to be like this only. He has to go to this college only. He has to study only medicine. Correct. In fact, when my son got into, he got a good marks, he got about 99.99 here. So we asked him what he wanted to do. So we just asked him, do you want to do medicine? I asked him. Dad, every father asks the same question. He said, all Indian fathers, they want to be doctor. Why do you want to be a doctor? I said, I don't want to be a doctor. I said, what do you want to become? He said, I want to do something on my own. I said, okay. Whatever you do, because if you tell that you want to become a doctor, if I tell, and if I force him to be a doctor, later on he's not enjoying the doctorship. What he will say, the lifetime will cost me. See, because of you become a doctor, I'm a complete wreck now. I'm not enjoying my job, I'm not doing anything. He will just be enjoying life. I'll just be going along. So neither you are happy nor he is happy. Is it right? So what do? You let them make the choice. What you want to study. See, it is your life anymore. If you do this, you'll get this. If you study this, you'll get this. So you let them make the choice. And once they make the choice, then they become accountable and that you'll be free of the hook. Otherwise, what? You'll be tagging along with them. Padikrama, Liya, help, all these things will come. So you be impartial. That is what says what? Nityam samachittatvam. Means having equanimity, constant equanimity is very important. So this composure is born because of prasada buddhi. See, we talked about karma yoga, Ishwarapna buddhi, prasada buddhi. In surrendering all activities to the Bhagavan, accepting all activity results as the prasada. When you have this view, then your mind becomes a little bit steady. Your mind becomes easy to handle. You are no longer affected by obsession nor by sense of ownership because you do not own anything here. Including a physical body, you don't own. You have to leave this also and go. Correct? See, when you say, this is my property, this is my wife, this is my putra, this is my body, where is the question of taking anything? You can't even take a physical body with you. So where is the question of taking somebody along with you? You cannot. That is being objective. That is what we say here as looking yourself very objectively and saying, look, I cannot even take anything from here. All the thing which I have built, everything, the only thing can take with me, the grave is my knowledge. That's why he said, Nachora haryam, nachabara karyam. See, nachora karyam means what? Choraha means stealing. Right? And nachabara karyam. So, this particular knowledge which is there cannot be stolen from you at any point of time. People may come and steal items, your wealth, etc. They will accept property they will seal, they will take everything away, all objects. But what is inside your mind, nobody can take it. Is that right? You cannot, nobody can take it. It is with you all the time. So wealth is, knowledge is wealth, we say. No? What is, all paramories are there. Knowledge is wealth. We all write like this. What it means is that Nachora Haryam. So nobody can take this. Also, Nachabarya Karyam. So knowledge is not going to make it heavy. See, our head is not going to become double or triple just because you are having so much of study. You are studying Bhagavad Gita, studying Brahma Sutra, Upanishad, etc. So your head is swelling like this. It's not like this. Whereas, if you accumulate a lot of wealth, you will need one property or two property. So you like one sofa. Then you go and say, let me buy this also. So where do you think about where do you want to put the sofa, correct? So you have to create a space now. But you don't want to throw the old sofa also. You want you want that sofa also. You also want a new thing also to be in the same place. So what do? You'll have to either expand, go for new things. It is going to increase. So, correct. So, Nachabhare Kare means, Nacha means, that means this knowledge will not actually increase your load. Every other object will increase your load. So, taking more responsibilities, getting more attached, getting more obsessive is what is going to do, is going to get you more load is going to come on you. Is that right? You take on more and more, then you are getting more into the responsibility side of it. What do you want to do? We want to just, slowly give responsibilities away. And we just want to have a retired, enjoyable, beautiful life, just studying Shastram and just having limited bandha. This is what is the first step towards attaining moksha or understanding moksha. Is it clear, this one? So, but what you must not mistake is, it is not saying that you must from toe. So today Bhagavad Gita says that I must not be attached to my wife. So now tomorrow I should not see her or I should not see my husband. No, it doesn't mean like that. What it means is that, because even getting married also is dharma. The reason why you get married also is to propagate dharma only. See, conjugal benefit is there. But that is not the main purpose of dharma, of getting married. It's vivaha, when you say, vivaha means what is to lift yourself. So that's why we say vivaham. We never say kalyanam or we never say marriage. In English we say marriage. But all the traditional Tamil patrika or we say vivaha. So vivaham means what? Vaha means to lift yourself, udritaha, to lift yourself in dharma or to raise yourself spiritually. That is why one gets married. So by getting married only, you are able to perform karma, number one. You know that, right? If you're not married, you cannot do any karma at all. You can only do sandhyavandana. You can do, all these things which is required for brahmacharya can do. But you cannot do any karma which is for purification. So all the karma, what does karma do to you? Karma it helps you in preparing for jnana. So if you're not married, many of the karmas which is prescribed in the karma kanda cannot be done by the person. Because the eligibility is given only by the wife. If you look at any of the rituals you go, the Vadhyar will be ready, you will be sitting there, everything ready there. And you want the Vadhyar to just start the mantra, but he won't. He will always say, call you Dharma Patni, right? So Dharma Patni means what? The person who is actually standing for Dharma is Dharma Patni. So the wife has to come, then she is the one who has to provide the Agni for the fire. So without her blessing, you cannot start any karma. You will be sitting there, everything, Vadhyar will all be ready. That is why, because the wife is supposed to be a propagator or supporter of Dharma. The job of wife is to lift a person and to make the person more stronger. So Saha Dharmani, they say. Saha Dharmani, when they say, that means what Saha means along. So along with you, I will support you. In fact, one of the seven, the Saptapadi, when you say, when they take 7 steps, one of them is this, that I will be with you all the time to support Dharma. So one of them steps is this Dharma. So it is easy, it is very difficult to get rid of attachment. But understanding that a person is here only for Dharma and we are all here to propagate Dharma, and I got my job, my duty is to protect and to be objective to it. So if you have the understanding, it's called Samachittaha, Nityam Samachittaha, or equanimity. So if you have this vision, then life becomes easier. That's what it says as one of the qualities. Then in verse number 10, he says, Mayi chananya yogena bhaktiravya bicharini Mayi chananya yogena bhaktiravya bicharini Vivikta deshe se vitvam Arati jana samshadhi. So Mayi means always, Krishna talks about in me. Mayi means in me, or placing in me what Ananya Yogena. So Ananya Yoga, we're going to see in Wednesday Ananya Bhakti. So Bhakti also what? Ananya Bhakti. Ananya Yoga means Bhaktihi, Ananya Yogena Bhaktihi means not connected to anything else. So when you are doing Ananya Bhakti, you must not be connected to something else. Anya Bhakti is what? Anya Bhakti is a bhakti which is not focused on the self. And the bhakti is focused on objects outside of you. Whereas in Ananya Bhakti or Ananya Yoga, your mind is not connected with anything else, not even an idol, not even a photograph, not even the guru, not on anything else. Your focus only on the truth of nature, on your own true self. So, Mayi Ananya Yogena Bhaktihi Abhicharinihi means what? So, Bhaktihi Avyaha Abhicharini means unflinching or unswerving devotion. So, your devotion should be total. You cannot say that today I'll do something for you. Tomorrow I don't have time. Bhagavan, I don't have time for you tomorrow. I'll come back and study on Wednesday. No. It means what? Daily, it has to be a routine. It has to be the Shastram. See, he talks about Shastram here. So when you say Bhakti, how do you see Bhakti? Bhakti is revealed only by the Shastram. Shastram tells you what is Bhakti. Without that, you do not know. Bhakti is so and so. But what is Bhakti? He has to understand. So he says, having Bhakti means having the words of the Shastram in you repeatedly all the time. And the words of the Shastram reveal the truth of the essence of the true nature. That being the truth which is me. So the truth of Krishna is consciousness, which is revealed by Ananya Yoga, by the mind not having connected with anything else. And the Bhakti is also Ananya. That means Bhakti is not anywhere else. The bhakti is only for one's own self consciousness. So in that way, if you place, and abhicharani means what? Unswerving. So there is not, a place or time when you're not like this. Till such time you're alive, till such time mind is active, you're always thinking about some shastram, something or the other, some mantra comes to your mind. So you're always living the dream, living that particular vision. Then, vivikta deshe means what? So vivikta deshaha means going to another place. So vivikta deshaha means having the capacity or having the desire to move to a quieter place. You cannot meditate in front of a big satsanga people. You cannot have TV. See, some people say, I'm watching TV, I'm watching some serial program going on there. They are sitting in the living room, studying Bhagavad Gita. TV is going on there. Some serial is going on there. Up, text is read, then the TV, because they go on mute also. See, video is not there, so you don't know what they're doing. So if you're not on video, you do not know what, maybe they are listening, they're not listening, or they're doing parallel processing, or some other activities going on also. Okay. So something else is going on, then listening is going on, some activity is going on, so everything is going on multiple. But here it says no. It says here, Ananya Yogena, means what? Having only that in mind. So when you are doing that, only that should be the primary objective. Everything else should shut down. No mobile phones, no WhatsApp, no TV, no other things which are doing. That particular time should be allocated for only this. So, Mai Ananya Yogena Bhaktihi Abhicharini. So all these things are why it is said, because it is for a person to practice meditation. It is for a person to be committed that particular time which I am spending. It may be half an hour, 20 minutes, 1 hour, doesn't matter. But that particular time, I am only committed to only this, and my devotion is only for that. You got what I'm saying? You cannot say that I can multitask. Sangapati TV wouldn't I'll see. Shankara TV is going on there. Some serial is going on there. Some important serial is going on there. And you are listening to something. How it is possible? Because that also is transmitting information. How two things are different. One is talking about objective world. Another one is talking about not the objective world. So there is a big difference between the two. How are you going to connect those two together? It's not coming together. So for that it says vivikta deshehe. Means what? If you feel somebody is, your living room, somebody is putting on TV at a time when you are attending a class, you have a choice of going to a quieter place. You can go to any place where you think you'll not be disturbed, or have a particular place for your class. Whichever place you feel is comfortable for you, where there is nobody is going to come, that place is your place. So vivikta deshehe. It can be any place. It can be, but it cannot be, sliding under a bedroom or under a bed and then slightly a lot of people do that. Because when you get into that mode of sleeping and listening, right, invariably it goes off. So it has to be a particular place. Vivikta deshehe. Then what does it say here? Sevitam. With Sevita means the disposition of having a quiet place is very important. Then Aratihi Jana Samshadhi. So Aratihi means what? No longing. Aratihi means what? No longing. So you not long for what? Jana Samshadhi. Janaha means people. So you no longer long for the people. See, I need to be surrounded with people. Is it right or wrong? Some people will say, I cannot, I need people around me. If I don't have people around me, I cannot function. I need always people around me. So he or she likes to be among people. So if you're left alone, they don't know what to do. The lockdown also is a problem. See, the COVID also, the COVID Bhagavan is actually forcing us to do this way. This is what is taught here. Same thing is being taught. Bhagavan is forcing us to say, okay, you cannot go anywhere. Social distancing. You cannot just go and meet somebody there, sit there and chit chat. So you practice. You stay put in one place. You cannot go. Is that correct? So in a way it is helping you because you get more time to study Shastra. At this, if you are not this time, then you will be taking a car and going anywhere. Going meeting friends, spending time there, having dinner party, having birthday parties, and then they come there and have birthday parties. So time is gone. So here it says that for such a wise person, Mai cha ananya yogena bhaktihi abhicharini. Then vivikta deshehe sevitam. Means you find a place which is quiet, which is good for your study or for your vidyasram or shravanam or maranam. You find a place which is only for you, where you feel comfortable, you pick a place. And aratihi jana shamshadihi, having no longer, having longing for people. That means I cannot study by myself. I need people to be studying with me. Satsang Pura, I cannot go satsang alone. Can you come with me? Why? No, I get bored there. I cannot just stand like this. So you have to come with me. So, because they get bored, they want to talk to somebody. They are the patient. So he says these are all not the qualities. He said you have to get over the qualities. So what he's trying to tell us, Krishna here, is these are the qualities one has to work towards it. It does not mean that tomorrow itself we should achieve all these qualities. It is going to be difficult to achieve all these qualities, but one must work towards these qualities. So that is why we, in our entire 100 years, correct, we have split our 100 years into 4 parts, Chadushpadaha, correct. The first 25 years called Brahmacharya. So Brahmacharya, what do you do? When you are 9 years of age, you go to Gurukula. There in Gurukula Vasaha, they teach you all these things. You are away from your family, your mother also cannot come and see you, your father can't come and see you. They may come and see you occasionally, or you can go and visit them when during holidays, something like this, only for 1 week or so, when the Gurukulam Patashala is not there. So in the Gurukulam, you're already used to that lifestyle where you're alone by yourself, you study yourself, you have disciplined life, you are got no much contact with the outside world that much. So 25 years, 16 years is gone. Then you come to the Grahastha Ashrama. The next 25 years, you get married. You practice or you follow the lifestyle which is taught in the Gurukulam. Following Dharma, living out Dharma, understanding all the values, studying Shastram, because you already been told Shastram. You've been taught Bhagavad Gita, you've been taught all this Suktams, etc. You've been taught the meaning, everything. So what do you do now? You have to now relive this and do Shravanam again. Maranam, Nididhyasam, continue. So when you're 50 years of age, you're pretty much finished responsibilities in terms of getting married. In the olden days, they used to get married very early. By 23, 24, 25, they used to get married. The girl also will be around 20 years of age, 19, 18 years of age. So 50 years later, they will become Mamiyar. Or 50, 51, they already become that. So once you finish 50, 51 years of age, you are pretty much left the Grahastha Ashrama. So next 50 to 75 is called Vanaprastha. So Vanaprastha means what? You and your wife go towards, leave the house, Vivikta Deshehe means Vanaprastha only. Go to a place where there's no disturbance, there are not many people around you, and then you and your wife just go and live alone and pursue the knowledge. So 50 to 75 is supposed to be for that. See, 60th Kalyanam also, Shashtith Purti to do, right? People get married. And what do they get married for? See, 60 years, a lot of people want to come. I want to invite 1,000 people. So 1,000 people come in, everybody will give gifts. So a lot of people, sometimes they conduct wedding because of that also. They just want to, but 60th anniversary is supposed to be, it tells you that you have to now leave this and follow, the life of spiritual studies. But what do they do? 60 Kalyanam Panindruva, Avada Kalyanam Panindruva. Apparam marubadi idhe Pazhaya kurudi kada tharadi mari marubadi idhe old habits die hard mari same again they continue. So same lifestyle they go back and they continue again the same way. Nothing really changes. Only thing has changed is the bank balance has changed. More patram has come into picture, more cooker has come into picture, more items have come into picture, and they are now having more items, more things. And photographs are there, memories are there, video is all there. You enjoy all these things, that's all there. But that is not what life is. Yes, you should have Vivekam by the time. So Vivikta Deshehe, the Vanaprastha is the same thing. So 60 to 75 is supposed to be that stage. Then 75 year onwards, or if you are even ready before that, you must take sannyasa. You must renunciate and then just live alone by yourself. So that's what it says here, Vivikta Deshehe Sevitam Arati Jana Shamshadhi. Means you must leave the company of people, including your wife, including your putraha, including your putri, whoever is there, property, etc. Hand over them nicely. Property share. How will I hand over everything? If I hand over everything, what will I do? The question. Who will take care of me? Supposing if I tell you that I got all the properties here and there, and I got share certificate, I got this bond, and if I hand over everything and become care of platform, tomorrow if I don't eat anything, what will happen? The bhayam. So this fear itself is the cause for insecurity. Correct? So because this fear is there, you will always be insecure. So one has to understand how much is required for you to live. So if you think that nobody is going to take care of you, because sannyasa also, you have pandityam, you have knowledge, you teach people, shastram teach them something which you know. They will become a guru to somebody, become a teacher to somebody. They can serve you to some extent. You don't go there because to earn something. You take enough requirement for what you need. You don't have to take so many things with you. So take the basic things which is required for you to make a start, then follow the lifestyle, which is for sannyasa. That is what is meant by the word here. Mai chananya yogena bhaktiravya bicharini vivikta deshe sevitvam rati jana shamshadhi. Is this clear to you? See, Bhagavad Gita is teaching us a lot of values. How to live a life. See, the beauty of Bhagavad Gita is Upanishad will give you the vision of Shastra. Upanishad will give you very cryptic that you are the Brahman, it will tell you. But Bhagavad Gita is the only one which is called Moksha Shastra. It is the only one which tells you how to lead your life correctly. So, whatever is taught here, even if you implement 10% of it, 10%, say there are 35 values given there, let us say. If you do 3 or 4 values to develop it, your life will definitely change. 100% guarantee. Because you can directly implement this. You don't have to be, well-read person in Brahma Sutra or Upanishad, etc. what is said here, understand the context of what is being said here, develop dispassion, vairagyam, develop the qualities of shama, dhamma, tidiksha, uparamaha, samadhanaha, shaucham, achar upasanam, shantihi, arjavam, amanitvam, adambitvam, all these things which are given there. If you even take 4 or 5 of them, your life can completely transform. So that's why Bhagavad Gita is actually can be applied. It has to be applied in your lifestyle. Otherwise, it is of no use. See, otherwise, study of Bhagavad Gita will be an academic exercise. See, it all says, oh, very good like this. But it has to work for you. You will have to feel that it is working for you by applying the principles. Knowing what the values are, and then valuing the value. So you must first know what the value is, number 1, correct? Then if you understand the value only, then only you can put a value or the value. So right now you know the value of money, correct? You know. Money is value, you know that. So because you know the value, what it is, you are putting a value for the money. Is that right? If you don't know the value of money for you, then would you place a value? You will not. So these are values. So you should know the value first. Then you must know how much to value each of them. So you put a tag, a price on this, and then you follow it. Is it clear? Okay. So we will stop our class here for today. Verse 11 will continue from next class. He again discusses again Adhyatmam, Ajnana, Adhyatma Jnanam, Nityatvam, Tattva Jnanam, Anudarshanam, Etad Jnanamiti, Proktam, Ajnanam, Yatato Anyataha. So he gives again more values in this. Then from verse 12 onwards, he comes back to the main topic. So from up to verse 11, he continues to give values. Then from verse number 12, he shifts gear and then he talks about what is to be understood by developing these values. See, one asks a question, okay, I develop all these values. I got everything, all the values. So what should I do with these values? He says, by developing the values, you should understand what is to be known. So you should know the Kshetragyaha. He comes back to the topic after all these things, which we are going to see in the next few classes. Are there any questions from today's class? Anyone has got anything? Gopalji, all clear? Hemaji, everything okay?
All good, Shankarji.
Okay. Radhaji, any questions from your side? You're okay?
Oh, sir. All clear, sir.
Very good. Okay. Sridhar, you're okay? So we'll stop our class here for now and we will meet again next week. Om Purnamadav Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamudachyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tatsat Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Namaste Shubha.